Welcome back, everyone, to the Away Day show once again. But this time, we're solo again. We've got the triple camera set up around me here. And hopefully you can deal with just me yapping for about an hour or so. But I felt like we had to get a video done, a podcast here done, because, look, some of the leagues are really heating up. And Nathan's away. He'll be back next week. We'll get the full company of the two of us. But I thought I couldn't go a week without talking about some of the top European leagues. Got a few games to cover off on. I might have to add another two in there because of what happened last night. But recording this on a Tuesday, massive action over the week. Let's get straight into it in Italy. I did a live stream for this one. I was really keen for this game, Atalanta and Bologna. The battle of third and fourth coming into the weekend. Obviously, Juventus, we'll get into them in a bit. They've won, so they pushed their way into the top four. And we know Italy are only going to get top four for Champions League next season. They won't get a fifth side like they did last season. So it was a must-win for both these two sides. Atalanta coming into the game, 3 losses on the bounce. Not that same defensive security. And most important, the goals hadn't been coming. Retegui had 1 in 7, I believe, games in Serie A. But it was back to normal functioning in this game here. A really clinical performance from Atalanta. Fantastic start. Retegui opening the scoring in the 3rd minute. A fantastic counter-attacking move. I said it on the live stream. Dan Ndoi has a half chance. He goes and chases that ball down, but Karnaseki releases the ball quickly. It allows Pasalic to find Bellanova down that right-hand channel there. And that cross into Retegui was superb. He basically had just a little touch on it, direct it home to the back of the net, and it was 1-0 within 3 minutes. And one of the most fluid Atalanta moves I've seen since, obviously, their last win, which was Juventus, and that Zappacosta and Kolasinac goal. That was just incredible, pure, fluid football from Atalanta. And that's what we come to expect from them this season. I said it throughout the whole live stream, but we're talking about a team that was competing for the title race come December, January time. And I think a lot of the off-field stuff and the rumours about whether Gasperini's continuing, Lookman's future elsewhere, it sort of clouded the team in that Champions League horrible play-in game or qualifying game. That didn't go to plan either. It also just fell apart for the side, and key injuries throughout the season. Obviously, the likes of Scamacca missing, Scalvini defensively as well. So there's been a lot of problems around the club, and I think it just took away from what was a fantastic start of the season. But they desperately needed to get on track, because if Gasperini isn't returning, if the sporting director is leaving, if you get Lookman going as well, the least thing you want is Champions League football to attract more talent, and that's why this was a must-win game. The second goal, this time, Retegui setting it up. Lukumi pushed him in the back, and then there's a question about if Retegui plays the ball while he's on the ground, but I don't think he does. He gets back up. Lukumi's too focused on almost mocking Retegui on the floor to win the ball back. Retegui gets back up, puts a superb ball into the box, probably the best assist I've seen on the weekend, and that's saying a lot because we've got Edison direct assist from goal kicks and the like, but a fantastic whipped-in ball. All Pasalic had to do was tap that ball home, and that made it 2-0 in the 21st minute. From there on in, it was really a dead game. Bologna tried after the 35th minute. It looked like the much better side, a lot more possession, but not much dangerous possession. Edison, the next big chance came in the 29th minute, but Karnaseki made a superb save in the 35th minute, tapping Dan Ndoi's shot from outside the box onto the post and wide. And Dominguez had an effort saved by Karnaseki in the 49th minute, and then Casale came very close in the 66th minute from a dead ball. But outside of that, nothing much to talk of. Bologna, 60% possession, 12 shots, a lot of them long-range efforts, 0 big chances created there. That was the major differential versus Atalanta, 40% possession, 4 shots, 2 big chances and 2 goals. They were super clinical. They didn't need many opportunities. They took their opportunity as well. And it was led by Retegui, the 8.4 match rating, a goal and assist in this game here. 3 key passes, 11 out of 24 duels won. It's his 23rd goal of the season. Back to his best. And I think when he's in fine form, Lukin wasn't even at his best in this game here. I think he was quite poor, to be honest. Edison was quite poor, but you had the key players standing up. Pasalic was great in transition. Bellanova up and down that flank was superb. Retegui finding the back there and pressing from the front. The amount of contested battles that Lukumi had to face in this game. He had one of his worst games, but it was down to Retegui and his pressure that he put on the back line there as well. Berkema as well was okay, but constantly under pressure from Retegui's pressing and intensity in the final third there. And obviously the captain, Martin de Roon, was absolutely world-class in this game here. I think it separated the two sides. The ability that Atalanta had to defend their back four and protect their back four, force Bologna sideways, backwards, and not really allow much incision. Whereas the midfield for Bologna just couldn't do too much. Fabega and Remy Freuler had one of their poorer games. No Santiago Castro from the start. And Fabian in the number 10 instead of Jens on goal was a weird decision for me. So it just didn't go right for Italiano's side. Dan Endroy tried his best, 7.5 match rating, 61 touches, 2 key passes, won 11 out of 16 ground duels, 3 challenges, 2 shots on target, hit the woodwork. He did basically everything for this side. Orsolini was slightly off the pace. It just wasn't their day. They weren't connected in the final third. They didn't have the ability to get at teams in Atalanta in transition. The counter press, they tried it, but Atalanta played around it. And all in all, just a bad matchup. I mean, they matched up well in the cup, and they got the result there. They were looking to make it 3 out of 3 this season versus Atalanta. But I think the Gasparini's study looked at the film, and they worked out a way to get the better of this Bologna side. It really showed. Karnaseki was big as well. 8.1 match rating, 5 saves, 3 of them coming inside the box, preventing 0.45 goals. I think simply put was Atalanta were clinical and Bologna didn't do enough with possession, and that's on the day that can happen, and that's why these sides are so closely contested. Atalanta now moved back into third, 61 points on the season. Bologna staying fifth on 57 points, ending Atalanta's 3-game losing streak and ending Bologna's good little running at 7 games unbeaten coming to this game here. So disappointing for Bologna. They'll have to go back and get at the races yet again because they've got some tough fixtures coming up. We've touched on this a lot on this podcast here, and their season off is ridiculous. They've got some massive games versus obviously Juventus, Inter and company as well to come. Let's have a quick look at their games to come. The weekend's game coming up is against Inter. Then they've got the second leg against Empoli of the Coppa Italia. They can probably rest legs there, leading 3-0. Then Udinese, that's probably has to be a must-win. They can nick a point of Inter and get a win against Udinese. All of a sudden, it becomes a little bit more competitive. That massive game versus Juventus on the 4th of May, that is going to be a very decisive game for their season. Away to Milan, away to Fiorentina, and then home versus Genoa come the end of the season. But by then, their race could have been run. Obviously, it's really important they continue to pick up points, though, because that Europa League race is heating up as well. They sit on 57 points, Lazio on 56 points, Roma on 54 points, Fiorentina on 53 points. And you never know, Milan on 51 are coming, making a late charge as they fix things up defensively there as well. So a massive game for Atalanta, disappointing for Bologna, but nonetheless, a game that really disappointed for me, I thought. I think it would be much more competitive than what we saw. In the end, it was one-way traffic. It was 1 in the opening 21 minutes, but fair play. All goes to Atalanta and how they played their football. It was a superb game, and it's great to have Retegui back to his best scoring goals in the league, looking to extend that Golden Boot lead. I think if he scores a few more this season, goes to 28 in the year, probably one of the best ever debut seasons for an Atalanta player in their history. Quite superb, his goal-scoring form at the moment. Next in Serie A, had to talk about Juventus. Igor Tudor comes in, and it's been enough sunshine and less rain since Motta's left. It's been a win, draw, and win. So 7 points out of the opening 9 points available for Igor Tudor. And it was far from impressive Juventus, but a clinical Juventus was in this game here. Koopman is finding the back of the net inside 2 minutes with an incisive move from Juventus. Vlahovic receiving the ball, slipping in. Koopman, he looks more involved in the Igor Tudor system, much more involved in transition. They're playing much quicker in possession, more direct. I think that's helping Koopman. Since after that moment, Kristovic came close. Effort coming off the post in the 5th minute, which one of the opening chances for Lecce in this game here. Renato Vega headed away a chance that was destined for the back of the net in the 21st minute. Locatelli put his effort straight at the keeper in the 31st minute. Inter, however, working the ball well in and around the box, and finally their attacking efforts would be rewarded. Kenan Yildiz scoring in the 33rd minute. A fantastic team build-up. Vlahovic, Thuram and Yildiz all involved in a one-touch build-up. Fantastic play down the left-hand channel there. A lot of the attacking work came in that left-hand side, and it was Yildiz's score on the first time effort from just inside the box. Fantastically placed goal. And all in all, great team goal in that one there. Nico Gonzalez took on an acrobatic effort in the 35th minute after Locatelli found the winger coming and running in behind there. However, after that moment in time, it was less impressive for Juventus. Heroic defensive efforts from Juve in the 62nd minute made sure injury didn't bring the game back to 2-1. Cambiasso came close in the 75th minute as he broke away down that right-hand channel, looking to find the far corner. But it just went wide of the goal face. Massive save from Di Gregorio to deny Rebic in the 84th minute after Juventus gave the ball away defensively. Bashiotto, though, found the back of the net for Lecce in the 87th minute from that Helgeson ball into the area. Fantastic flicked-on header. The ball didn't quite reach the centre half, but he had to do a lot of effort to flick the ball on towards the far post and find the back of the net in off the post. And then Helgeson came close himself in the 90th minute to scoring off the injury cross. However, he flicked that effort wide of the goal. So in the end, Juventus hold on. Fantastic first half. Less impressive second half. And I guess sort of a theme of what this side is. Not very good at the moment. But I think this new system of the Igor Tudor, how more direct they are, the inclusion of Vlahovic, just makes this side a little bit more competitive. I still believe it was the wrong decision to sack Thiago Motta. I think there was a future in behind that system and that style of play. But the new manager bounce has worked. It got Juventus back into the top four as it currently stands. 7 points from possible ninth under Igor Tudor. So things are happening for Juventus. I think what the fans and the ownership wanted, a quick turnaround to get back into Champions League football to attract more talent, because right now it's going to require a massive off-season for me if they want to be competitive at the top end yet again. I think Inter are a good 2 or 3 summers away from Juventus. They need a lot of investment over the next few years to catch up to Inter Milan. AC Milan can make things turn around quickly if they back in Conte, South. You know how good Napoli have been this season. Then you likes of Bologna and Atalanta are probably a season ahead of Juventus in their own right. So they're going to be playing catch-up Juve. And I think when you think about it, Thiago Motta had that fantastic run where, yes, I think it was 8 wins and 13 draws, but they're undefeated across the first 21 games. And there was a resilience there. There was a system there. I know it wasn't such front-footed and attacking-wise, but it was clear to see. And I think when I talk about my own club, Manchester United, and the Erik Ten Hag Amarin debate, yes, Amarin's doing worse than Ten Hag, but you can see a pattern of play in a system. And it's similar here with Igor Tudor versus Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta has a system. He looked to play a lot more possession, a slower build-up play, but counter-press quickly, win the ball, keep the ball. Versus Igor Tudor, which is get possession of the football and try and play direct, which, yes, it works to Koop Miner's benefit. Yes, it works to Vlahovic's benefit. But it might not be the best in the long term. I don't know. That's just me. It's fantastic for Juventus, that they're back on track, but I don't know if it's the right decision going forward. Igor Tudor, though, has had great experience in Serie A and performances, so you've got to back in the Juve ownership. In this game here, Wedson McKennie, once again for me, has been fantastic. End up playing left wing back in this game here, 61 touches, 92% pass accuracy, 2 key passes, won every single duel in this game here, 2 tackles and a block, putting it out one of the most complete performances in this game here. And then Dusan Vlahovic back involved once again, 8.3 match rating, 2 assists, 34 touches, the 84% pass accuracy, and I guess good signs for Juventus in that regard, that he's getting more heavily involved, that he is dangerous in the final third. And I guess the question going forward now is how do they balance this Colin Vlahovic situation? Obviously, Colin Mawani is on loan. Looks like they might not take that loan and they might not convert that. But you think to when he started with Thiago Motta, 3-3, I believe, one off the bench there as well, scoring some important goals for Juve at important moments. I think it would be a shame at the same time, though, Dusan Vlahovic has been a superb player for Juventus and someone's been pivotal to the side, but is there a way he can work both of them into the side? It's a funny situation because Igor Tudor might get results at the end of the season off, but can he keep it going next season? And if he doesn't, you're stuck in a situation where you're going to give him the players he wants for the summer. There's players that are clearly working better under his system, Vlahovic, Koop Miners, Locatelli, but these are players that didn't really work under Thiago Motta and under a system that's a bit more progressive and maybe takes the club forward. I don't know if it's the right avenue. And obviously they're going to back in Igor Tudor and that's the way they're going to go. But I think they're in a funny situation where come the summer, there's going to be a lot of decisions needing to be made. And they need to back in the next manager now, which is Igor Tudor, because if they don't, if they do this little backflip like they did on Thiago Motta, then you're stuck even more backwards come, January, February time of 2026 if you sack a manager mid-season again. I just think Juve need to stick to a plan. If this is the plan now under Tudor, stick with him for 2 or 3 seasons. Yes, you may suffer. Yes, you may go through a rough spell. And I know the finances obviously aren't great at the moment because they're playing Lloyd Kelly. They haven't got a centre-back up for Bremer when he got injured. Gatti gets injured now, and it's a very, very vulnerable back line. Didn't they want to get Renato Vega on a permanent? I think that's a great deal for the club. I think Bremer coming back will help the club. The back threes look like they're going to go with that sort of system now. But it's about finding players that can take you forward. I still don't believe Locatelli is someone who can take you forward. Does Vlahovic want to be there anymore? That's another question as well. Savona and company, those younger players that were brought through by Thiago Motta, I think they're the future. But are they going to work under Tudor's system? I just haven't seen enough yet to be convinced that some of these players can, translate their confidence and their form and their positional sense over to this Tudor system. It's much more direct. It's more counter-attacking. It's more of a system that's going to capitalise on clinical finishing. And I just don't think they have that currently. So Nico Gonzalez, probably not the answer either. So again, it's a massive overhaul. You're looking at 5 or 6 more players if you want to convert on this Tudor system. And I just don't know if you either have that money or have that pulling power right now. It means they desperately have to get Champions League football for next season. I think ideally next summer you go in there, back in Tudor in, you get a rotational centre-half. I don't think you convert Lloyd Kelly's on. You get a backup centre-half. You get a midfielder that can replace Locatelli. For me, I think that's the way you go there. And you get another attacking sort of wing-back that can play in the Weston McKennie role, because maybe Weston McKennie becomes that midfielder alongside Kefren Turam. You get a wide wing-back that's a out-and-out wing-back rather than McKennie pushed out wide or Gonzalez being a little bit more defensively orientated. I think those wing-backs can be so, so important in this system, looking at the way they're playing, how they want to transition quickly, how they have targeted the wide spaces. You need out-and-out wing-backs. We see how Inter Milan do it and do it so well. I talked about that in my member video. DeMarco, Augusto coming in as a rotational player, Damian, Dumfries, out and out, talented, capable, defensively orientated, but also superb attacking players as well that can do both ways. You can't have a midfielder that's been forced out wide. You can't have a winger that's forced to do a bit more defensive work. You need out and out wing backs being brought in. Grimaldo, you look at Jeremy Frimpong as well for Bayer Leverkusen, in particular last season when they were flying. So maybe it's 2 wing backs and you convert McKennie to midfield. I think you need a backup centre half and you need to set up the striker situation. Is it Vlahovic? If not, who is it? And is there a backup for Vlahovic as well? Because it just seems at the moment a little bit all over the place for Juventus. Fair play, they've turned it around in recent games, but what is the future? I think that's the important time. We're looking well football right now. Some teams are sacrificing the current for the future. And I think for Juventus, I think that's the way you have to go. Sacrifice currently, because I just don't think this squad, or if you add a few pieces, is going to be good enough to compare with Inter, Napoli, Bologna, and company in Atalanta. You might have to sacrifice the next 2 seasons and build a squad and build a philosophy and a system under Igor Tudor to go and challenge in 3 years' time. If you try and rush the process, you've seen examples all over the world. Chelsea, Manchester United, they spring to our mind. Even Milan in Serie A. Instant success. They won the Serie A, then they've fallen apart since, and they're battling mid-table. So it's important that you think you build the foundations at Juventus. And if that means suffering, if that means discovering more players, because we talk about the squad, it's far from impressive on paper. Yes, there's some players that stand out in and around the place, but it's not a good enough squad. And squads are built through summers of transfer windows, through philosophies, and backing a manager in. So I think it's important that Juventus back their manager in to get the job done here. Quickly going across now to La Liga. So we're touching Villarreal. Massive win versus Real Betis. Real Betis, I think it was 8 games unbeaten in all competitions. Villarreal roll up and get a fantastic 2-1 win there. Isco missing a massive chance later on that game there that could have made the game 2-2. Jose Perez coming back to his former club and scoring in that game there. There is not a a shortened format of that game. I watched some of the highlight packages, but there's not a extended package of that game there, so I couldn't see much of the overall game. But a massive result for Villarreal against Real Betis there, and that challenging for that sort of 4th, 5th, 6th position there. It's condensing there as well in Serie A. I'll quickly flick up the table here for La Liga, because they've also got a challenge for Champions League football next season. The top 3 in the world of their own: 70, 66 and 63 points. Athletic Club in 4th currently on 57 points. Then Villarreal on 51 points. Massive win over Real Betis on 48 points. Celta Vigo on 43 points. Villarreal, though, have a game in hand. So they could close the gap to Athletic Club to 3 points and potentially have a sniff for that top 4 position. I don't believe they're getting 5 positions next season as currently put together, but could be 5 considering how deep Real Madrid and Barcelona go. So they might end up being a Champions League spot. But again, rather be safe than sorry and get that top 4 position. So a massive momentum boosting win for Villarreal, who this season have been super consistent. And I think a team that have gone under the radar. I'll definitely touch on them before the season ends and break down their season, because a lot of turnaround of players, but they've got it and they've put it together. Signings like Jose Perez, who scored in this game, have been fantastic for the club, who've continued to be competitive on the domestic stage, which is a really good sign to see. Now, a personal favourite story of mine, Valencia. They continue to rise the table. It was a chaotic game yet again at that end of the table versus another side that have fallen for grace in Sevilla in this one. It was a fantastic 1-0 win in the end. And I tell you what, my notes of this game are extensive because it was crazy, back and forth. Early chance fell to Sambi Lokonga in the 5th minute. Mamardashvili caught in to make the save there. But an early start, which Sevilla seemed to dominate the ball in the attacking areas. They were a bit more progressive early on, forced Valencia back. Valencia in possession, a bit wasteful in the opening 20 or so minutes. However, Romero tested the goalkeeper after Sambi Lokonga won the ball off Tarrega playing out from the back. His poor touch there, gifting Romero a chance. But once again, Mamardashvili to make the save yet once more. But again, pinned back, poor playing out from the back, and Tarrega was a prime example of that. Sambi Lokonga thought he'd scored in the 30th minute. Luca Bacchio's cross, however, had gone out of play, and it was not the only time that happened in this game. Twice in this game, his corner kick went out of play before coming back into play. So a real strange occurrence, which I haven't seen often in world football. It happened twice in this game here for the exact same player. However, that wasn't the only chance. And Luca Bacchio again in the 34th minute, able to get in behind. However, his touch not strong enough to get past Mamardashvili, who got off his line well and crowded out the effort to make the save. Valencia very, very close in the 36th minute. Bade deflecting the ball onto the crossbar. Gaia following in. However, his effort saved by the keeper. But much better for Valencia going forward. A little bit more quicker. Sadiq more involved in the build-up, coming in and around the half-hour mark. And finally, they would find the back of the net. Javi Guerra curled his effort into the far corner after slipping over initially in the build-up. Barrenechea, fantastic in the build-up play, winning the ball in the central midfield area, progressing the ball forward. And in the end, Javi Guerra slips over, gets back to his feet, and then finds the far corner with basically the last kick of the first half, which sent the Sevilla players off into a rampage. They absolutely went at the referee. They berated him because they were playing into extra time of stoppage time. It was well over the allocated minutes, but Javi Guerra kept playing to the whistle, and he got that late chance and he converted it. That would be the meaningful moment. It was chances later on in the second half. Javi Guerra had an effort come off the crossbar in the 49th minute after Rioja's back heel found Sadiq back heel to Javi Guerra. Nyland, however, they're making that important touch to tip it onto the crossbar. Sambi Lokonga, dangerous again in the 51st minute, walking onto a chance. However, his shot was too central. Mamardashvili there making the save. Double save, fantastic double save for Nyland in the 64th minute to deny Hugo Duro and Diogo Lopez in the build-up there. Salas's long effort to a deadly deflection. However, didn't find the back of the net in the 70th minute. And from there, Valencia do what they do best at home, which is just make the game a bit of a scrap in the last 20 or so minutes. Bit of the football shithousery going down, wasting time, and eventually getting over the line. And once again, the Mestalla went absolutely berserk at full time. Another fantastic win for them, rising now to 13th place. 6 games unbeaten, 3 wins in a row, backing up from that 2-1 fantastic win last time out versus Real Madrid it's all clicking right now for Valencia. They were bottom match day 18. And that's when I brought it up here on the channel. Me and Nathan looked at each other and I said, it is impossible for Valencia to go down. They are too big of a club with too much sway, too much home ground advantage to go down. And they've fought all the way up now to a respectable 13th and potential to climb up into the top half, considering how they're going, their current run of form. Consistently risen up the table. I don't think they've had a week, 2 or 3 more weeks in a row where they've stayed in the same spot. It's consistently rising position after position after position after position week after week, and it showed. The performances across the board have been fantastic. Mamardashvili in this game was superb. 5 saves, 8.1 match rating, 5 accurate long balls played in this game here. Prevented the 0.86 goals, so a fantastic amount of saves, an important save in this one here. 3 clearances made in this game as well. Luis Roja was fantastic as well. 49 touches, a key pass, 2 out of 3 accurate long balls, 3 ground duels, 1, 2 clearances. I think he's been an underrated player in this side here. All the talk about Diego Lopez, Javi Guerra, Barranquilla as well, but Luis Roja has been fantastic and was good in this game again. Again, a player does the small things well. I think he really does well in terms of the accountability on that flank there, accompanying Gaia, the skipper as well. You've got defensive accountability. You've got the ability to drive forward and create chances from that side as well. And I think for me, it's that consistency in performances and the combination of those two which has driven the improvement in Valencia performances in recent weeks. It's been a real great sight to see. And it's been great to see Valencia back performing well, converting chances, grinding out results, and the confidence building in this side. A lot of young players, a lot of players that are bursting onto the scene. It'll be, I think, important over the offseason. They keep a lot of these players, Diego Lopez, Luis Roja, even like a Barranquilla, who I think would attract a lot of attention from like a Brighton in the Premier League or potentially one of the big Serie A clubs. I think he'd fit perfectly at Napoli alongside Scott McTominay and as well as Lobotka there as well. So I think it's important to keep some of these players to try and build this squad up next season and become a stable mid-table to top half side, maybe even compete for Conference League. This is a side that deserves to be in European contention. So does Sevilla, but Sevilla right now, I think at their low point, they're continuing to drop down the table, inconsistent performances, struggling in recent times, in particular away from home. That's a different story altogether. Sammy Lokonga is probably one of their best players in this game here. He got dragged before the 90 minutes, but 38 touches, 84% pass accuracy, 3 key passes, 2 out of 4 ground duels, 1. Had 3 shots on goal in this game here. Unfortunate not to find the back of the net himself, but it's a great story to see what Valencia have done, how they've turned it around in recent weeks to climb the table. But this is where they deserve to be. And I think I'll have to touch on it in the off-season. These big clubs that are finding themselves too often down the bottom half of the table is a worrying sight, but it's a better sight seeing them come back and turn it around. And with the home support they have, with some of the talented players, young players they've got, as I said, if they can keep some of these players, add a few pieces, in particular, maybe a striker to replace Hugo Dura up top, a centre-half that's a bit more consistent, Bafukia, Gaia, Mamardashvili will obviously go to Liverpool, so a new goalkeeper, potentially new centre-half and a new striker. So strengthen your core of your side, keep your key core players, like Hugo Dura as a rotation player, Luis Rioja as a starter, Barranquilla in midfield as your key player. That is the cog that turned things over for this side, and good things will happen. Right now they're playing very defensive, very banker four type stuff, counter-attacking style of football, pragmatic. But if this team continues to gel, they get a summer together, you add a few more talented players, you can start playing a little bit more on possession. You can start to dominate games at home, win more games abroad. And all of a sudden, you get results building and you get a potential European appearance. And then you can keep players even further because they're wanting to set the football club. I just think it's a real big chance here for Valencia to grasp with 2 hands. You're in a good little moment right now. You're building something very, very successful, it feels like. A lot of great players, young players in and around the club. Talent is there. It is visible. You don't have to be a bright mind to see it. Javi Guerra scoring this goal, a great developing player. You can look at late in the second half with some of the challenges flying in midfield. Some of the support that Luis Roja provided Gaia and Fulquier how good he was going forward in this game. I think all over the park, there's a lot of talent there. It's just important they keep it. They've got Lopez as well, someone who I've loved watching this season. He's been superb as well. You've got to keep this talent, though, if you're Valencia. You lose it, you go back again, you're competing in the relegation zone once more. It's just important. I think you pounce right now. Now is a good moment for the club. Now is a good moment for some of the players, in terms of form-wise. Keep as many as you can. Build on this squad. Back in the manager. Provide the financial support for the off-season. And good things could happen with the Valencia side coming into 2025 and 2026 for me. Drinks break there. Let's move to the top end of the table. Real Madrid, a massive, vital, important, crucial, all the superlatives. They had to get this result to keep the title race alive, and they did so. Barcelona got the 1-0 win versus Leganes, I think, earlier in the weekend. Real Madrid got the chaotic 1-0 win versus Alaves. Red cards, more red cards and goals. Far from vintage Real, but with what was happening with Arsenal midweek, what's happening with Arsenal coming up now this midweek, and needing to fight for a semi-final appearance in the Champions League. Carlo Ancelotti's job under pressure all of a sudden now. They had to get this result, and it's a much-needed one. It was a bright start for them. Arda Güler getting on the end of a Rudiger ball in the 9th minute. A keeper came off his line to smother the effort. Superb individual run by Rodrigo to skip past 2 or 3 defenders. Heavy strike on goal in the 18th minute, but a fantastic save from Awonu in goal. Then the big moment came. Asensio thought he'd scored his opening goal in his professional career for Real Madrid in the 19th minute. However, Rudiger was deemed to foul the keeper in the build-up for that goal. I think in the end, fair. There's a bit of a shove there. It's a weak shove, but the keeper goes down. And in this modern game of VAR, it's always going to be overturned. But a big turning point in that game there. To that point in time, Mbappe was being frustrated. Outside of Arda and Rodrigo, it was looking like a very blunt Real Madrid performance. Not much happening in the final third. Vinicius and Jude Bellingham were missing as well. And it was a bit of worry time. Garcia wasted a big chance. He had the ability to turn in the box and take his shirt off for Alaves, but put his effort over the bar. And the big game-changing moment came. Camavinga opening the scoring just after the half-hour mark, punishing Alaves after a fantastic give-and-go with Federico Valverde. Arda Güler was involved with the build-up as well. Some great one-touch stuff. The most incision I've seen from Real Madrid in a few weeks. They've been struggling in all competitions to be consistent going forward. And we know how vulnerable they've been defensive in recent times. A fantastic curling, rocketed effort from the Frenchman coming back into side to find the back of the net in a massive moment for them. Obviously, he will miss the second leg of the Champions League, but what a way to respond by scoring in this game here, and it was the pivotal goal. Mbappe was sent off after a horrendous challenge in the 39th minute. Vicente almost equalised not long after the Camavinga goal as well, so it wasn't really going Real Madrid's way. Garcia had another massive chance with a header around the hour mark. However, Courtois had no problems with that save there, and then the game was flipped back in Real Madrid's favour after Vinicius looked to get in behind on the break in the 70th minute. Manu Sanchez sent off after he took him out. Again, not as bad as the Mbappe challenge, but nonetheless reckless. Obviously taking out Vinicius Jr. on the break, and a clear red card as it was a last span. Later on in the game, Valverde almost producing another magical long shot to give Real a 2-goal lead. And then to sum up Real's confidence and form right now, Awonu made a fantastic save in the 90th minute after Bellingham won the ball high up the pitch, went through on goal, had his shot easily saved by Awonu. So Real couldn't convert that chance. End up grinding out the result 1-0 with Ancelotti in the stands. Player of the game, Camavinga, 8.4 match rating, and he filled the stat sheet up in this game here. A goal, 74 touches, 82% pass accuracy, 2 key passes, 6 out of 7 successful dribbles, 12 out of 19 ground duels won, 3 clearances, 3 tackles, a block, and 2 interceptions. He was superb. And I think him and Federico Valverde in midfield, that has to teach Ancelotti something. Valverde, for me, versus Arsenal, has to come into midfield. You have to put Lucas Vazquez back out to right back like we saw on the weekend. Asensio and Rudiger as centre-half. That's your centre-back duo. And then for me, Garcia as a left-back is the way to go. Get him pushing up and down that wide space there. But seeing Valverde in midfield again, far from his best performance, far from vintage Valverde. But the comparison from Arsenal to the weekend was clear to see. He's more comfortable in midfield. He makes things happen in midfield. And I know he can play basically everywhere on the park, but the difference he made in midfield, the link up to that goal for Camavinga, it was Valverde playing that quick 1-2, the give and go. And that's why I think he just makes such a big difference in midfield. If Real Madrid want to keep competing in Champions League football, potentially make the ultimate comeback versus Arsenal, if they want to keep competing with Barcelona in the league, I think you go back to what works, which is Lucas Vazquez as your fullback and Valverde in midfield alongside Aurelien Tchouameni or Eduardo Camavinga, because it looks like a much more comprehensive Real Madrid performance and a far more coherent performance nonetheless. I think it's because Valverde is that cog, he is that leader of the side, and he made things happen in midfield there for me. A strong performance from Rodrigo, putting his hand up to be the out-and-out left winger, played on the left in this game here, 42 touches, 78% pass accuracy, 5 out of 7 successful dribbles, 10 out of 14 ground duels won, and 3 tackles as well. Was the live wire in the opening 20-25 minutes. Obviously, after the red card, he gets less involved, but did his fair share of defensive work, considering Mbappe threw it away for the side. And then Thibaut Courtois yet again. When Real Madrid need him, he often stands up. 8.2 match rating, 6 saves, preventing the 0.7 goals in this game here. It means the gap remains at 4 points on top of La Liga, but at least it's not 7, and at least it's not 6 to Barcelona, because I'll tell you what, it was a chance for a big slip-up yet again versus Alaves, and they haven't been good in recent time. I think the last 5 games, they've got 2 wins in all competitions, and one of them being this Alaves result. So it's far from vintage Real, but we know they have the ability to stay in title races. They have the ability to stay in this hunt. And as long as they're in it, it's a chance for Barcelona to slip up and chance for Barcelona to make a mistake, and that's when they can pounce. So for Real Madrid, a much-needed result. It's, again, far from their best, but I think this is more of a conversation, again, for the end of the season. The Mbappe adjustment period took too long. For them to work out their system took too long. But the bigger overarching topic is Dani Carvajal's importance in this side is obviously so far apparent. And Valverde's trying to fill in that hole, but he can't. Being that leader, that cover-up. The worry for Real Madrid is you are the Galacticos. You are getting Trent Alexander-Arnold in the summer. But do you need a little bit more structure? Do you need a little bit more accountability defensively? Because Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't going to give that to you. Federico Valverde can't do it all alone. Luka Modric, how much longer can you keep going? You need more structure. You need more experienced leaders, veterans. You need more defensive accountability. And we say it with Man City, they've just looked off. And we've just pointed it down to Rodri missing. Same as Real Madrid, they've just looked off. And yes, the stats come up in recent times. Ancelotti has never defended a title. He's never defended a league title in a back-to-back. He's never gone back-to-back in a season. And I think you can put it down to that. You can put it down to Ancelotti having great seasons and off seasons. And we can say there's a bit of history and a bit of something apparent in there. But considering Barcelona have been ridiculous, and they're still very, very close. It's not downplaying Real Madrid, but they haven't been the Real Madrid of what we saw last season. And Dani Carvajal not being, I think, has been a big part of it. And defensively, they've been so poor in recent times. I think it's 11 goals conceded in their last 5 games in all competitions. That's not a recipe for success. And there's not enough goals from Vinicius, not enough goals from Mbappe. Mbappe's been fantastic, but with how much they're outlaying defensively, there's not enough for them going forward. And it's a little bit of a worry with how long the adjustment took. I think they're adjusted now. They're working together well now, but we're not seeing the best of Vini. We're seeing the best of Mbappe. We're not seeing the best of Mbappe. We're seeing the best of Vini. Mbappe misses. Vini didn't start this game. Rodrigo was superb. Arda, fantastic for me. You got so much attacking talent, but going back is the problem. You've got to find a happy medium. We've seen Bellingham go out and play right midfield in games with Madrid going to a 4-4-2. So I'm just interested to see how they eventually work this out. Ancelotti's a great mind. We thought he'd just work it out. I don't think they really have. Next season, you start with Carvajal there, but how is he going to respond after this ACL injury? There's a lot of questions. I think signing Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't going to solve that. As much as more goal threat is going to be dangerous, we see how easy Barcelona transition versus Real Madrid side. We see how easy Atletico Madrid transition against this side here. We saw how Arsenal broke them down in transition, and we saw how easy, if a team can go into a low block, they struggle to break them down. Valencia and Arsenal in back-to-back games where they sat in deep and denied Real Madrid space and speed to get in behind, and they collapsed. So I just think there needs to be a bit of a reshuffle or a reorganization of ideas of how they want to go forward with this Real Madrid side here. Because, again, I sound like they're in a crisis. They're not in a crisis, but with what we expect from Real Madrid, which is Champions League finals, league titles, cruising trophies, it's not quite been that season for them in terms of performances. And again, last season, their performances weren't fantastic, and they got a double one in the end, which is fabulous, treble one in the end with the Super Copper as well. But it's been nowhere near last season this year, and this is a lot of moving pieces. But with the only sound of it being Alexander-Arnold coming in, I think they need to play like a Joshua Kimmich, which obviously is impossible signing because he's re-signing with a Bayern, but they need that level of player who has that level of control. You know, they need Toni Kroos. They need someone like that in midfield. Valverde alongside a player who can dictate and control momentum of a game. That's what they need. They need someone in the midfield who can support alongside Valverde and protect this back line. Because, as I said, Modric isn't getting any younger. Valverde can't play right back, central midfield, and right wing. You know, Bellingham's best position is at the 10. So to accommodate all of that, you have to find more defensively orientated players. And where they are right now is hard to see. Because I said Joshua Kimmich would be the slam dunk move, but he's re-signing at Bayern. You know, Rodri's going to be at Man City. The players at Granit Xhaka have not had the same sort of season this year. Caicedo is a really bold shout. It's just they're eyeing Bruno Fernandes up, they're eyeing Florian Wirtz up. But I think at the end of the day that you need a holding midfielder. And where that player is right now, I don't quite know. I'd love to see like a Alexis McAllister potentially joining a side like this. Yes, that'd almost be a ridiculous move to be made, but you're Real Madrid. And I feel like a Federico Valverde and a Alexis McAllister midfield duo is superb. I would say the PSG midfielders, but you're not going to get any of them out of their contracts. They're locked in. They're building things serious. They're going to go deeper than Real Madrid looks like in this season's Champions League. So you've got to try and pull someone away from a big club to join your side. I just don't know if they can do that because right now, just signing Trent Alexander-Arnold with what I saw on the weekend, what we've seen this season, it's not going to make a massive difference for Real Madrid. And obviously, they'll shut me up and they'll probably go and win versus Arsenal in this second leg and make their way through to a semi-final and win the Champions League or find a way to win this league title. But if we are honest and critical in Real Madrid, which we have to be, they are Real Madrid, they are Los Blancos, the 17-time Champions League winners, they need to be much better. And they haven't been much better. And it's because I think for me, they're missing Dani Carvajal. It's not talked about enough, but that veteran experience, that accountability defensively, it's not been there this season. And as I said, Valverde is supposed to be that player, but he can't do it all alone. He needs some support there. So they're going to have to go out in the summer and try and support him and this side defensively by signing a key defensive player. A proper out-and-out number 6 that's going to sit in the hole there. Aurelien Tchouameni and Eduardo Camavinga are superb players, but they're not what Real Madrid need right now. They need a leader in the 6 that's no nonsense. That is not going to get the ball away, that's going to drop in and protect that back line, that's going to allow Alexander-Arnold when he plays to push on, that's going to allow Jude Bellingham to play as a false 9 at the number 10 spot. Because what it's going to be like is Rodrigo and Mbappe and Vini and Jude are all up top. They're all going to keep up top. There's going to be 4 of them there, and it's going to be 6 of you defending. It's going to be Valverde alongside whoever this player they need to bring in as a 6, alongside Carvajal with Trent, with Rudiger, looking like Raul Asensio, and Ferland Mendy versus the world, basically. Teams going to counter-attack you. Teams going to get at you in transition. But if you have a proper number 6 going to help and protect that back line, that's going to go a long way for you to be successful. So interesting to see how they approach the summer because I think that's a hole that needs to be addressed. A real leader, maybe even a veteran to come in and fill that spot, to be that player that backtracks, to be that player that puts his ego aside to defend first. And just to know if they have that at this current point in time. All right, looking at our power rankings. This is our one segment for the week. Obviously, without Nathan here, we only do one segment. Just want to update my power rankings because we're into the end game now of each respective league, in the end game of the Champions League as well. And power rankings is the ultimate guide to keep things updated. And I'll tell you what, I've been tossing and turning deluxe on this list. I think I'm going to finally stick on it. But it was hard for me to make this list. Because again, power rankings, let me preface this. It's on currently how it is, how the team is playing, how the players are performing, how they're going at this current point in time. So as such, Leverkusen 10. They've slid all the way down to 10. They were nearly out for me. We'll get into their game literally next. So disappointing on the weekend. Underwhelming. Struggling to break down low blocks. Not having the same output from their wing-backs. Without Florian Wirtz, what is this side? It's a big question because the creativity and spark in the final third has disappeared. I'll definitely make an individual video on this if I have some free time this week because I'm worried for the future of this Leverkusen side. I'm worried for what I said. I said a lot of good things and promising things about this side. They haven't quite delivered this season. Yes, they're second in the league and they still couldn't go win the league. Again, similar to Real Madrid, how I just talked about them. But again, far from convincing performances this season. 2 losses in the league, that's fantastic. But the amount of draws, the amount of points they've dropped, how they got bounced out by Bayern in the Champions League, they haven't found that attacking spark this season. And I think defensively as well, we talked to high heavens about it this season. Jonathan Tah has been more focused on that Bayern move since the summer than he has on this club this season. So underwhelming. Tapsoba in and out with injuries. Hincapie finally playing as a left-sided centre-back. They've finally gone back to that sort of 5-3-2 formation that they did and they had last season and that worked last season. It's taken them this long to finally go back to it. And I wonder what has been that reason. And the persistence of not playing Robert Andrich in the 6 for me is a worrying sign as well. I think Bayer Leverkusen looked their best when Robert Andrich and Granit Xhaka play as a double pivot. Andrich can drop in and support those 2 centre-halves to allow Grimaldo and allow Jeremy Frimpong to push on. Those 2 have been playing left mid and right mid a lot of this season. They have looked out of sorts, out of sync, and as such, there goes one of your key avenues to goal. Florian Wirtz out for 6 weeks or a month and a bit in recent times. They looked so poor without him being there with that ankle injury. Even when he was there, Boniface not at his clinical best this season. Patrick Schick missing games, having to come off the bench. It just hasn't quite landed. And I think there's a lot of worries about this side because they're not being able to score goals as free-flowing, as late, as great as they were last season. They've been found out. Teams are happy to play a low block against them. And this is always a side of side's next step they need to take. You know, in the Premier League, Arsenal have come second because they can't break down a low block for me. And they drop games in important moments. Leverkusen won the league last year going invincible, yes, but this is their season where teams know how to play them and they've structured up defensively, say, break us down in a low block, and they can't do that, and that's a worry, and that's why they sit 10th for me. 9th place, Atletico Madrid. They've got a fantastic 4-2 win in the weekend that keeps them in the hunt for the La Liga title. Not much more I can say about this side. They're just 3rd best in Spain, and they're just a top 16 team in Europe. You know, they often get bounced out in the quarters or the round of 16 in the Champions League. They're often 3rd in La Liga. They haven't quite taken that next step, but there's promising signs there. Julian Alvarez, what a season he's having. That's going under the radar. I think that's 26 goals this season for Atletico Madrid. They've got the depth up top with Antoine Griezmann. They've got Sola there as well. I'm loving what De Paul is doing in midfield. Simeone as that aggressive, defensively orientated wide player as well. It's a system that's more defensively oriented, but it works. They've gone to Barcelona and they've gotten a result there. They were competitive against Barca, probably the most competitive side across any team in Europe this season versus Barcelona in all competition. So there's that for them. But it's about the ability to win games more convincingly for me and better flick the switch from pragmatic, defensively oriented system to an attacking all-out system. And I think they haven't quite got that balance yet. So they sit in 9th for me. Napoli are in 8th. I think it's been a fantastic season, but yet again, the depth of the squad isn't there. David Neres was down for a key period of time. They dropped a lot of results. They went over a 5-game period in the league with only 1 league win. You can't win a league title like that. Inter have had a hit-and-miss season in the league, to be honest. Yet they're still a game clear of Napoli because Napoli had an even worse run. I think a sign of a good team is when you have your bad runs, you still win 3 out of 5 of your last league games. Napoli didn't do that. As such, I can't support this enough. And we know Antonio Conte's history with sides. He works them too hard, that injuries happen, and they fall apart. And yes, Kavica Kvaratskhelia, if he's there, they probably win the title. They've got the depth. Maybe David Neres doesn't even get injured. Maybe luck just goes their way and they win the league title. I think the form of Scott McTominay, Romelu Lukaku, Billy Gilmore, Lobotka, Zambo and Gisa this season, fantastic. The return of form of Giovanni Di Lorenzo, the skipper, fantastic as well. Juan Jesus on the season, superb as well. I think all in all, they've improved as a squad and as a playing group and playing together. The contributions from the bench from key players, fantastic, but they're not quite at that elite level yet. And they're ahead of Leverkusen and Atletico Madrid, which is the key, I guess, feather in their cap. Next season, it's all about adding more depth, adding more quality. Can you nick some Serie A talent into your side? Can you nick some talent from the Bundesliga, from the Premier League to bolster your side to be ready to go again next season? Because they're so well put together defensively, but I'd love to see another centre-half brought in as depth and quality. I'd love to see another full-back brought in as well, and I'd love to see another wide player up top brought in to add depth to this side. Because, again, we saw David Neres go down, and all of a sudden, it's hero ball for Politano or McTominay. Outside of that, there was no attacking threat. So they need depth in this side, and they need it desperately. So that's what they need to do in the summer. 7th place for me, it is Arsenal, which is ridiculous considering what's been happening in recent times. But league form's been poor. I know the focus has not been on league form, but you got to take it into account. Fantastic night versus Real Madrid. They've been fantastic. I'm not hate watching, I promise. Just over the season, there's too many occasions where they drop key games. I think back to versing us in the FA Cup, going down to Manchester United in the FA Cup. He knocked out the Carabao Cup. Not being competitive enough for long enough in the Premier League. Many people saying, this Premier League season has been poor because it's not been competitive enough. That's down to Arsenal not being there this season. Yes, they will still, again, finish second, and they will be, fantastic with 3 or 4 losses on the season. But you haven't won it yet. You haven't won a trophy yet. Massive bolster by this Champions League quarter-final appearance and first leg performance. That, for me, is giving them a lot of confidence. I made a massive 29-minute video about it, breaking it down. I loved it. But can you go do it away at Madrid? Can you go do it again next season? And I feel like we've said it so many different times, but I'm waiting to see 7 or 8 months of just dominance. Arsenal sheer dominance, beating low blocks, beating counter-attacking sides, beating attacking sides, beating counter-pressing sides, travelling to Bournemouth and winning, travelling abroad in continental and playing attacking football. I'm waiting for that. And it's just, I think, a striker away. All I need is a striker because then they've got multiple avenues to goal. But as it currently stands, 7th, because they haven't got the trophies in their back pocket to support it. But on power rankings, I know I'm probably going against myself there, but they're in 7th here for me. In 6th place, Bayern Munich, faltering in the league. Probably going to get knocked out by Inter Milan in the Champions League as well. I think as much as they've been impressive, again, it's another case of Leverkusen haven't been at their best. In another season where Leverkusen pick up 2 more wins instead of 2 draws, I tell you what, I reckon they choke it at the end. They're really struggling in recent games. We'll touch on their Klassiker game versus Borussia Dortmund on the weekend. They're not been at their best in recent weeks, and they started the season like a house on fire, attacking football, goals, smacking 6, 5, 4 goals past sides. Elise, Kane, Musiala. But Musiala's dropped out, and this side's fallen apart. Defensively, they're still so underwhelming. Kim Min-jae and Dyer, your centre-back partnership, my God. They opened my kind of this season. I've raved about him because I think he's been much better this year, and it shows because Eric Dyer and Kim Min-jae as a duo is dodgy. Stanisic's coming in at right back. Alphonso Davies doing the knee injury, which is awful for him, but it's hurting the side. The depth isn't there, the quality isn't there. I still think this is a side that, to compete amongst Europe's best, it's going to take a few more seasons. To be back to that 2021 team, they're a long, long way away from that. They've been good this season, don't get me wrong. Attacking-wise, fantastic. But defensively, the depth there and the midfield quality outside of Joshua Kimmich, just not there. It's Musiala, Kimmich, and Kane for me. Those 3 have been superb. Add Elise into a top-tier level. Outside of that, they're not as strong, I think, as everyone expects them to be. That's why they're trailing versus Inter in that first leg. That's why they wasted so many chances versus Dortmund in the Klassiker, and that's why they sit in 6th place for me. Don't get me wrong, they could flip it around versus Inter Milan in this second leg of the Champions League quarterfinals, and they could go on and win a double, but it's been far from convincing across the last few games. Dropping games, losses, it's just not been their best football. In 5th place, Real Madrid. I still got them up there, because they've still continued to find ways to win games of football. But as I've been talking about for extended period of time, they're lacking leadership. They're lacking quality, consistent performances. Not quality performances, quality, consistent performances. They're putting up 10 out of 10 performances one game, 3 out of 10 performances the next. And somehow they'll probably lose the one they put a 10 out of 10 performance in and win the one when they put out a 3 out of 10 type performance. The inconsistency is there to see. That's why they sit in 5th for me. And it's clear the problems they have. They're just too attackingly orientated and not enough accountability for me defensively or on transition when they turn the ball over. A lot of improvement to make for them, but they're Real Madrid. That's why they're still up and around the place. For me, in fourth place is Inter Milan. I love this side. The members will know about the video I made about them. That was this month's member-exclusive video, breaking down Simeone Inzaghi's system. I love this team. I absolutely love it. I adore them. They do not get enough credit for the way they play their football. Serie A gets a bad rap for defensively orientated sides. We've got Atalanta and Inter Milan as two of the most attacking sides in world football. The way that Inter get at teams down the centre of the park, not many teams beat opposition by just dominating centrally. But that's what Inter do. Calhanoglu, alongside Barella and Mkhitaryan, aging three, but one of the best midfield threes in world football right now. And then despite that being said, the overlapping runs from Bastoni, who's a left-sided centre-half, Augusto, Federico Di Marco, Denzel Dumfries on the right-hand side, it's a pleasure to watch. Some of the best crosses of world football in this side. Some of the best chance creators centrally in the world in this side here. And you've got one of the most underrated strikers, and probably the most underrated striker in world football right now, in Lautaro Martinez. Gets a whole lot of hate, gets a whole lot of slander. He's bagged another season with 20-plus goals for Inter Milan. It's 4 seasons in a row of doing that. Alongside Thuram, who's your ultimate workhorse with and without the football. I feel like I'm rinsing the same conversation I had to my members, but if you want to check that out, join the membership and check that out. It was a fantastic conversation, I feel like. But this side is superb. They're going to win another Serie A back-to-back Serie A title. I think they go, and they're real danger for Barcelona in the semi-finals of the Champions League. I think they beat Bayern, and they're going to challenge Barcelona in that semi-final tie. And if they do that, they go into the finals favourites for me. I think, everyone's talking about PSG, everyone's talking about Barcelona, everyone knows about Real Madrid. But don't forget about Inter Milan. They have one of the most robust defensive units. But saying that, they're one of the most dangerous sides going forward and in possession in world football. They need 55, 60% possession, and they'll tear you apart. And that's why I've got them sitting there nicely in that fourth place. I just think they're absolutely ruthless right now. And Inzaghi is one of the most demanding and most identity, structure-based, best coaches of world football, and especially in Europe. I think he's absolutely superb. And all in all, just underrated. The word to describe Inter Milan right now is underrated. Everyone is underrated in that side. No one gets the credit they deserve. And it's just dumbfounding to me that no one's talking about them because they are absolutely superb. And for me, in third place, Liverpool. Obviously, the last month has hurt them, but another late winner on the weekend versus West Ham. They continue to be one of the most entertaining sides going forward. Yes, Mohamed Salah and Luis Diaz have been off across the last month, but on the weekend, they look back, they look ready to go. And that's the thing with Liverpool. They only got one bad month in them, and if no one's close enough to them, they'll go and win a lot of trophies. It was the problem that they met at PSG, and they met an informed Newcastle. Probably two of the most informed sides in world football right now is the reason why they're not in 2 more competitions. They could have won that Carabao Cup on their day if they'd just been a little bit more switched on, and it just coincided with a poor week with the PSG result as well. You take that week out of it, a week and a half, 2 weeks out of it, we're looking at a potential treble. You got Liverpool with salary signing in the form they're playing with now in the Champions League quarter-final tie. It would be Aston Villa. I think they tear them to shreds. Obviously, the Carabao Cup wasn't their day. Over the season, over the last 7 months, Arne Slot's side have been unbelievable. McAllister and Gravenberch midfield unstoppable. Mohamed Salah breaking records left, right and centre. Virgil van Dijk at his best yet again, as he has been across the last 2.5 seasons. And obviously they've got Alisson in goal, Trent and co. I think there's been too much off-field stuff, and they had a poor week, and it's put a really damp stain on what has been a really, really good season. So they sit in third because of the last month or so. That means in second is PSG. They're a relentless side. They are. Luis Enrique has a chance to make history with this side here. If they go and win the Champions League, he might be hailed as the best manager of all time. Forget Fergie, forget Pep, forget Ancelotti, forget Cruyff. If you can make this PSG side win a Champions League after they've had the likes of Messi, Mbappe, Cavani, Ibrahimovic, Di Maria, all these superstar names across the last 20 years, and it's your side with Desire Doué, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele playing as a striker, Vitinha, Jean Neves, and Fabian Ruiz as your 6 up top, which, by the way, this is not me discrediting them. I love those 6. But if those are the names that are going to win a Champions League and go undefeated to win the league title and potentially a domestic double, well, boy, oh boy, you are the chosen one. because this side and this club has been cursed in European football. It's been underwhelming on the European stage, and at last, the Parisians have got a side they can support and back. Local talent like Bradley Barcola and Desiree Doué. You've got Dembele refining his best form from Borussia Dortmund, playing as a striker. By the way, they haven't got a central striker right now in this side. They've made the superb signing of Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia, who adds direct running, skills, trickery, and further stretches defences because he can play on the left. Desiree Doué on the right. Good night for fullbacks. And then the midfield trio. I love the Inter midfield trio. I love the Liverpool midfield duo. But this, for me, the best midfield trio in world football. They carried over their fantastic performances from the Euros individually into a team performance, which is almost unstoppable. Vitinha for Portugal, out of this world. Fabian Ruiz for Spain, so influential. Jean Neves did his job. I'm not going to say he was out of this world in that tournament. I think it was good. But what they've done, they've combined together. And these are some of my best, statuses for midfield trios. Midfield trios that can all play as sixes, all play as eights, and all play as tens. This is a dynamic, malleable, adjustable midfield trio that can win in so many different ways. It can be the fierce, at-you type, win the ball back with Vitinha, Neves nipping at your heels. Or it can be the cool, calm, possession-composed side with Neves and Fabian Ruiz driving this. Or it can be the counter-attacking style with Neves and Fabian Ruiz driving the counter-press and the counter-attack. There's so many different ways they can beat you as a midfield trio, and they'll beat you as a midfield trio. They'll outwork you, they'll outskill you, they'll outclass you. And that's why PSG are in this position. That's why they're unbeaten currently in the league. That's why they're one of the fate for the Champions League. And with that front line, they're one of the best teams to watch in world football. They're hitting form at the right time in the league as well. That's why they're second in the power rankings, just second to the best team on the season, which is Football Club Barcelona. Lamine Yamal, Lewandowski, Rafinha. There's not much more left to say. Those three, 145 goals, I think, now on the season, Barcelona. They're out scoring sides, they're out working sides. Their high line is kept now. I think it's 30 different offsides that have been ruled off by VAR because of this high line. Pau Kubasi, Inigo Martinez, youthfulness, experience, fantastic. You got Araujo rotating back into this side there as well. Szczesny's come in as being one of the best keepers in world football, whilst he's missing Ter Stegen, which is one of the best shot stoppers in world football. You got Marc Casado, what's a find, as the youngster, the new Busquets in midfield. You've got Dani Olmo, who's always on time, always hitting that celebration where he's assisting for that front line there. Pedri, Gavi, Fermin, the depth, the quality. Ferran Torres off the bench, the most dangerous bench player in world football. It's unstoppable. It is so good to watch. They can grind out results. They'll dominate sides. They'll counter-press sides. They'll counter-attack sides. They'll out-possess sides. They'll just show their skill and get the better of sides in possession. They are the best team by such a long distance. It is unbelievable. And I said, the quadruple is on. Not many people have mentioned it. I think people are starting to realise now it's on and it's going to happen. And it's down to Hansi Flick for me. This is a side that was nowhere near it under Xavi. That's not a discredit to Xavi. He's a great manager, but no one's quite like Hansi Flick. The demanding demeanour that he expects from his players, where he makes sure they work hard in the opposition, despite them being more skilled, is a credit to what he does. He got that Bayern side playing at such a high level, one of the best sides we've seen in the 21st century, I feel like. They were fantastic. It goes under the radar what they did winning that treble. He did that. He was okay with Germany, didn't quite fall his way. But what he's doing here with Barcelona, he's maximising every single player. The way he's maximised Rafinha, he's found the rejuvenated Lewandowski. He's got Lamine Yamal working in a system. Casado, finding him and making him the player he is. And then obviously Pau Kubasi, Inigo Martinez, Szczesny in goal, Kunde. The name's got one. It's just relentless, it's unbelievable, and it's too good. And that's why they're number one for me. They're the favourites for every single trophy they're in for right now, and that says a lot. They are just clear at the moment. They're just a different gravy right now. So that is my current power rankings. Leverkusen 10, Atletico Madrid 9, Napoli 8, Arsenal 7, Bayern Munich 6, Real Madrid 5, Inter Milan 4, Liverpool 3, PSG 2, and Football Club Barcelona number 1. Let me know your thoughts on that list in the comment section down below. I'm glad I got that segment out. And gee, I've waffled. We've gone over an hour, so I'll speed through what happened in Germany. Obviously, talk about Leverkusen. I think now the title race is well and truly over. They were held to a draw by Union Berlin. 75% possession, only created the 0.82 XG with the one big chance each in this game here. Union probably should have won with Hollerback getting in behind. Decided to dink the keeper, and a poor dink nonetheless. Palacios had probably the best chance for Leverkusen, found in behind by Florian Wirtz in the 58th minute. Frimpong had a chance within 11 seconds after Palacios won the ball work, but outside of that, nothing happened. Kerfeld came close for Union from ahead in the 14th minute, but outside of that, really nothing happened. Quite poor from Leverkusen yet again. And as I said, my worries continue to develop with this side here because they're not able to find a way to break down low blocks, and sides will continue to play a low block if they can't find an avenue to goal against these sides. The Friday night game was one of the most entertaining from the weekend. RB Leipzig seem to be back on track since the new manager has joined the club. A 3-2 win away at Wolfsburg in one of the most entertaining games. A true Bundesliga classic in this one here. Openda punished Wimmer for overplaying the ball in the build-up. The ball fell to the centre forward. He drilled the ball into the bottom corner in the 11th minute. Next mistake came from Arnold slipping over in the middle of the park. A Leipzig counter-attack came, which was converted by Xavi Simons in the 26th minute. Simons doubled his tally in the 49th minute, making it 3-0, being set up by Real Baku in that one there. And at that point in time, I thought it was game, set, match. But once again, the Bundesliga has another twist to the tail, and you know there's going to be goals on the Friday night in the Bundesliga. Fischer producing a fantastic goal in the 58th minute. He's first for the club, stepping inside and picking out the far corner as Leipzig defenders didn't close down the space quickly enough. Then another Wolfsburg team movement saw them score a second goal not long after. Skov Olsen off the bench with Male setting him up with a smashing goal from a tight angle to make it 3-2. And then it was danger signs. It was alarm bells late on for Leipzig. Galassi had to pull out heroics in the 82nd minute to deny Gerhardt equalising the 82nd minute. And Baumgartner probably should have wrapped the game up in the 88th minute. However, was denied from another impressive keeping save from close range. Xavi Simons, so glad to have him back at his best. One of my favourite players in world football. It looks like whatever happened at the Euros, he was carrying an injury into the season, struggled, then got injured, then came back, and finally is finding his touch. An 8.9 match rating, the 2 goals, 60 touches, 4 key passes, 2 out of 4 successful dribbles. Dominated this game here alongside Real Baku against his former club. A 7.9 match rating, 2 assists, 48 touches, 86% pass accuracy, 46 ground duels won with 3 tackles. Again, nervy moments for Leipzig, but they look much better and look like the Leipzig of old. Openda scoring, Xavi Simons heavily involved, better in transition, capitalising on teams' mistakes. That's the Leipzig we were used to. A team that scores a lot, may concede a lot, but they'll score more than you will. And started the season off, it was defensively orientated. Then it was mistake-riddled and conceding goals and dropping under the table. Now they've gone back under the new manager of playing to their strength. Play in transition, play with pace, play direct, and all of a sudden all your key players are playing good yet again. What a surprise. You're playing to their strength. I think it's important that for Leipzig, yes, you can develop a more defensively orientated identity to take into Europe and to apply against different games here, but play to your strengths. You know, look to play a high-intensity back-and-forth game because that's what suits your side. And I think we saw in this game here, them playing to their strength, and that's why they punished this Wolfsburg side. A massive result for Leipzig. Disappointing for Wolfsburg, who dropped well off the pace after being in contention for Conference League or Europa League football. They haven't got a win, I think, in 3 games now, and continue to tank down the table, whilst Leipzig, I think, get back-to-back wins for the first time in a very long time. So impressive from them, and they get back up into 4th place and back up into those Champions League positions. We'll finish the week podcast off with their Klassiker. And again, another prime example of what it means to be Bundesliga football. Entertaining, back and forth affair. Again, my match notes for this is extensive. Julian Brandt had a big opportunity on. He put his ball wide of the goal, however, in the opening minutes. Once again, Dortmund looking dangerous in transition and dangerous on the counter-attack, which would be their identity throughout this game here. Kobel had to make a very smart save to deny Leroy Sané in the 19th minute. He looked to found the far corner after being found by Elise cutting into a central area. Michael Elise had threaded through, was threaded through by Harry Kane, getting through one-on-one, but Kobel yet again making another heroic save in the 40th minute. Another massive save again before half-time. A flick by Muller to find Harry Kane, who struck the half volley so well, but Kobel there to make another save just before half-time. And he went into half-time 0-0. Again, both teams having their own one-on-one or major chance in the first half. And it was the second half where the game would flip on its head. Maximilian Bayer continues his fantastic run of form, scoring in the 48th minute, heading home at the back post after a racing cross into the area. Kim Min-jae, an awful defensive mistake. Knew Maximilian Bayer was behind him, didn't look to put a body on or make a challenge, allowed the centre forward to make the run past him and head the ball home, unmarked at the back post, which was criminal. He was then dragged after that, quite rightly so, and Pavlovic came on to join in at centre half. Maximilian Bayer then could have scored his second goal in the 58th minute. Emre Can fan Julian Brandt in behind. He pulled the ball back to the centre forward. However, Stanisic, who had a great game this one here, making the full stretched sliding challenge block to keep the game at 1-0. And that was an important moment because 7 minutes later, Guerrero comes off the bench to place the ball into the bottom corner, set up by Thomas Muller. Fantastic finish by the substitute, who came on and played in that little left-hand channel and played a fantastic job in this game here. He made it 1-1, and then literally minutes later again, the other substitute, Serge Gnabry, and the 69th minute, skipped past three defenders, putting Sula in the spin cycle and finding the far corner to make it 2-1, flipping this game on its head in the space of minutes. But that was not the last of the dramatics in this one here. Svensson's corner saw a mad scramble in the box. Serge Garassi put in an acrobatic effort, which was saved by the keeper, who parried it straight into the path of Anson, who followed in to score in the 75th minute. His first goal for the club, a massive goal for this side here, who was playing backs against the wall type football for the whole game. And you know what, probably deserved to be level in this game here due to how dogged they were defensive and how much they fought in this game here. So a massive moment for Anton to make the game 2-2. Guerrero then produced an incredible half volley, which was saved by Kobel in the 77th minute. Chukwemeka almost found the back of the net in a winner in the 86th minute after Pavlovic gave the ball away in the centre of the park. And then late on, Alexei, really late in this game here, ball into the box, mad him at the back post. Unfortunately, just didn't quite strike his volley well enough, put the ball into the side netting, and that's the way the game would end. Disappointed that it ended in a draw. It felt like one team deserved the win, but in the end, both teams came and played their style of football. Bayern possession, 62% possession, 2.34 XG created, 8 big chances, 28 shots versus Borussia Dortmund. He wanted to play defensive, low block, 5 at the back, transition type football, 38% possession, 1.65 XG, 3 big chances created themselves with 11 shots on goal. Some of the key players this game. Thomas Muller turned back the clock in his last day Klassiker. Assists in this game, 62 touches, 78% pass accuracy, 5 key passes, 2 big chances created, and 4 out of 5 aerial duels won. Guerrero, in his limited minutes, 36 minutes played, 1 goal, 36 touches, 93% pass accuracy, and a key pass in there as well as missing a big chance. And then for Borussia Dortmund, Maximilian Bayer continued his great run of form, a goal and 30 touches, and Kobel in this game here. One of the great keeping performances of this season. 8.9 match rating, 9 saves, 1.29 goals prevented, 68 touches, 7 accurate long balls. Did literally everything for this Borussia Dortmund side, which are competing for their slim chances of making European or Champions League football for next season. They're still sitting mid-table, and it was an impressive performance. But it's about consistency of this side here. They sit in 8th place on 42 points. Freiburg is in 6th currently on 45. So a win away from Conference League football, 4 points away from Europa League football, and only 6 points away from Leipzig in 4th place for Champions League football. But games are running out. I think it's only 5 games left of the season. And it's been, I guess, a sign of Dortmund's season where they've been really, really good in some games and really, really poor in others. And that's sort of why they're left in this position here. And again, I touch them Bayern Munich, a game where they create 8 big chances and 28 shots. The fact they only scored 2 against an out-of-form Dortmund backline goes to show their problems as well. They started the season off on fire. They created chances for fun. They were scoring for fun. But Musiala drops out the side. Elise not quite at his tip-top best. Harry Kane slightly off it. And they lose all confidence in building the final third. And the 2 goals they conceded, well, defensively just all over the place. Kim Min-jae must be one of the worst signings or drop-offs after signing in history. Bayern Munich don't get many signings wrong. He's been awful since joining them. Another mistake in this game here. I think for them, we look forward to them and their season. obviously, I think they've got the title wrapped up, 6 points with 5 games to play. It would take a monumental bottle from here for them to lose it. But I think likely to get bounced up by Inter Milan, the Champions League. Yes, Vincent Kompany has made strides with this side here. They look good going forward. But into next season, you have to get more centre-half depth and you have to get more of a defensive, consistent identity. Because some games, they look so resilient defensively. Some games, they're making mistakes like these and you wonder, what's wrong with this Bayern side? Why can't they put together consistent, month after month, defensive displays to complement their attacking football? And once again, similar to Leverkusen with Wirtz, if Musiala ain't there for Bayern Munich, you have to wonder a lot about this side's attacking output and their threat going forward, because they looked very, very underwhelming in the final third across the last few weeks, and they've dropped a lot of points. Just lucky that Leverkusen haven't been able to pounce. But what's a game nonetheless? A real entertainment fest. Positive signs for Dortmund. Obviously, they won't have any chance in that Champions League second leg versus Barcelona, but this is how they have to go forward. Take accountability defensively, be rugged, be ruthless, and then have this clinical edge in the final third. A clinical edge that's been not appearing this side across large parts of this season, large period this season. It's happened under the new manager. Hopefully it's not a new manager bounce, and it's something that can go on and grow into the future, because it's just such a shame seeing Dortmund in 8th, 9th, 10th throughout the season. We want to see them with Leverkusen, with Bayern Munich, with Leipzig, competing for the league title, competing for Champions League positions, because again, another giant club that's fallen this season. A lot of big clubs underwhelming. Hopefully, though, they've turned it around. They've looked much better in recent times, and particularly in the Bundesliga, because they've found that defensive identity. I think it's so important for teams. That is your foundation. Become defensively solid, build that identity from there, and attacking football, counter-attacking, pressing and all that can come next. But find that defensive identity. It's what made them make the Champions League final last season. They kept clean sheets in big games. They kept teams quiet. They haven't had that this season. They're falling short. It's a real common trend there. Anton underperforming, Sula obviously coming in overweight, Schlotterbeck not being the same player he was last season, and importantly, another common trend, a veteran experienced leader like Mats Hummels missing. Pretty obvious why you'd struggle. But hopefully next season they fix that up, because this game here was a positive sign. Keeping Bayern quiet, limiting their opportunities. Obviously heroics from Kobel has to be accounted for, but keeping Bayern to 2 goals, considering the amount of possession and chance they created, is a positive sign for this Borussia Dortmund side, and a little bit of a worry for this Bayern Munich side nonetheless. There we go. That's this week's podcast. I'm sorry, I thought I'd keep it under an hour. I've gone an hour, 20 minutes. It's been a long one. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on my power rankings. And thank you for joining me once again in what has been another great week of football action. Obviously, this one will go out for the members earlier on Wednesday. It'll be on Wednesday evening or Thursday morning for the non-members. If you enjoyed it, smash a like on it, subscribe to the Players Own channel, press that post notification bell on YouTube, 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The response on Spotify and Apple Podcasts in recent times has been fantastic. Thank you for supporting us on the audio platforms, and make sure to check us out on the visual YouTube platforms as well. With that being said, guys, have a great day. I'll see you guys in the podcast or prediction video or reaction video, something very, very soon. Until next time, guys, thank you for enduring my voice for an hour and 20 minutes. And I'll see you guys for another video or podcast very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.